When someone says something to you that affects their life, it can be a totally natural response to sometimes get defensive because you think they might be actually talking about you. If someone says they no longer drink, for example, you may wonder if they're just passing judgment on you because you enjoy the occasional cold one on a hot summer's day. Or if someone was to go through a bad breakup and they say a generalized statement like, "I hate all men," or "all men are scum," and you're a guy, it's natural to think that they're maybe talking about you when they're speaking about their own lived experience. The same thing can happen when someone brings up issues that affect them because of their perceived race. If a black person tells a white person that they experience some form of racialization every time they leave the house, it's so that others who don't experience those forms of discrimination can understand what they're going through. To understand and know about these experiences is the first step towards improving them. This is the reason why courses that tell the true history of the United States and Canada are so important, not in any way to make people alive today who don't experience the same kind of systemic racism feel bad. It's not anti-white to tell the true story of European colonization, the capitalist wealth accumulation through the North Atlantic slave trade, the genocide of Native American people, the history and suppression of civil rights movements throughout history, emancipation, the end of Jim Crow, or even the Civil Rights Act itself. The only people who should be offended by learning that white supremacy is bad is white supremacists. If you're white and you're born today, you will have never owned a slave or had a plantation, and there may be a host of reasons why your own life is hard. You can come from a broken home. You can have parents who don't love you or don't have time to spend with you because they work too much. You can have trouble meeting or making friends. You can be bullied. You can have trouble meeting girls or always being unpopular at school. You can be bullied for being gay or acting too feminine if you're a boy or too masculine if you're a girl. All these things can lead you to have a life that is hard. And the first time someone tells you something like, "Hey, did you know you have privilege?" it may be the most annoying thing in the world that you could possibly hear. And when it comes to racism, a black kid can experience all the things I just mentioned that a white kid can go through, and then they can also be treated differently or worse just for being black. They could statistically be born into a more impoverished community, or deal with racial profiling when they leave the house, have way more encounters with police and the criminal justice system just by virtue of their skin color, and then have a harder time getting hired for a job because they have a black-sounding name. Learning any or all of that doesn't make you bad or evil just for being white, because no one is intrinsically evil or bad, especially because of how much melanin they have. But you can also not be aware of any of the programmed societal prejudices that we all have. Like how studies have shown that people perceive those with darker skin to be potentially more threatening, even if they're black or brown themselves. How people who are visibly indigenous will be followed around more by security on average when they go into a store. We're all programmed by stereotypes and racism through our history and culture and music and movies, and then we replicate them in society with how we interact with others and culture broadly speaking. It's a never-ending cycle until we recognize it, and then we can work on changing things for the better. And we know this because the very concept of whiteness itself changes. Whiteness is a hierarchy. At points in American history, Irish people and Italians weren't considered white, in the same way that now if you have someone who is half white and half black in America like Barack Obama, they're still considered a black American despite being part white themselves. There's nothing wrong with teaching the real history of our society because it helps us understand elements of why we operate the way we do today. Teaching the history of Indigenous genocide and colonization isn't supposed to be a guilt trip for anyone. You didn't own slaves and you didn't do colonization yourself, but it's important to learn about them and fight against people trying to suppress that history and knowledge. Because again, the only people who won't want you learning the truth about racism is racists. Thanks so much for watching. We live in scary times right now where it seems like politicians are really bent on rechanging the school curriculum to teach alternate versions of history that will benefit things like white supremacy. We want to start creating a series where we talk about difficult subjects, but in a simple and easy to digest manner like the one you just saw before you. If you'd like to help us so that we can continue to produce content like this, please consider financially supporting us, as it's the only way for us to make more of these videos on a regular basis. Go to patreon.com/theserfs, and any amount that you can donate helps create this content and more of this kind of stuff going forward. Also, subscribing, liking, sharing, and hitting that bell icon are crucial for us to try and get this message out there. Thank you so much for helping.